good evening, everyone. Welcome to SUNY Plattsburgh's online Undeclared session. My name is Rayanne, and I'll be your host this evening. I do work in the admissions office here at SUNY Plattsburgh, and I'm joined tonight by two other staff members, Dr. Elizabeth Burnett as well as Sally Irvin. If the two of you wouldn't mind maybe taking this second to introduce yourselves and explaining just what your role is here on campus.
My name is Sally Irvin. I am a career counselor in the Career Development Center and do a variety of things in helping students figure out what they want to do with their lives and assisting them through the whole process from school and beyond.
And I'm Dr. Elizabeth Burnett. I'm the Associate Director of Academic Advising, and while we help all students to navigate their way through college, all the way from orientation in the summer on through graduation, one of our most favorite activities is to work with undeclared students.
Great, thank you. Sure. And so you all know we are also joined by hopefully two students tonight. We have one student with us now, Mariah Singleton, and we're hoping to have Connor join us as well. They have both begun their SUNY Plattsburgh experience as undeclared students but have since declared a major. So to give you kind of a framework of what to expect from tonight, I'll be giving you all some background information on SUNY Plattsburgh as a whole, and then these two staff members will also be giving kind of a rundown of their departments and what they do on campus, and the three of us will be available for any questions you have. So if you can think of any questions throughout the night, definitely utilize that chat box feature that you see and type in any questions. I'll be happy to monitor that throughout the night and get your questions answered for you. About halfway through, we will switch out the two staff members here with our students. So any questions you have for currently enrolled students, that would be your time to ask that. Again, utilize that chat box feature, and I'd be happy to facilitate those discussions. So for now, I'm going to get started on my portion of this presentation and give you a little bit of background on SUNY Plattsburgh as a whole. So SUNY Plattsburgh was founded in 1889 as a state normal and training school, and what that means is that we were a college just for teachers. We were very small, just one building, but today we've grown into a fully comprehensive campus. We have over 60 different majors, 60 different minors, and a student body of anywhere between 5,000 and 6,000 students depending on the year. So although we are more of that mid-sized university, our class sizes do represent that of an extremely small college. So student-faculty ratio is 16 to 1, and average class size is about 22 students per class. So you really are getting to work in a collaborative environment when you're really getting to know your professors. And this comes in really handy when it comes time for job references, letters of recommendation, internship opportunities. I remember my junior year here, I got an email just kind of out of the blue from one of my professors telling me about an internship opportunity, and I remember thinking that's something that just couldn't happen if I were one of, 400 or 500 students sitting in a lecture hall unable to make those personal connections with my faculty here. So speaking of our faculty, 97% of our faculty do hold a PhD in their field, which is the highest degree that you can attain, so you know that when you're coming to Plattsburgh, you're being taught by the utmost professionals. There are no graduate assistants or TAs that teach any courses at Plattsburgh. We do have them there as an extra layer of assistance for you, so they may do things like lead study group sessions, but they're really just an added layer of support for you. They would never actually teach a class that's reserved specifically for faculty here. So at this point, we're going to transition and talk a little bit about what the Academic Advising Office does here on campus.
Sure, I'd be glad to. And remember, if you do have any questions, go ahead and type in the chat box. We'd love to answer them throughout the presentation. Foremost, one of the things that our Academic Advising Office does is ensures that every student, undergraduate and graduate, has an academic advisor in their department. Now, for those of you who are undeclared, we, the Academic Advising Office, serves as your academic home. You are served by professional advisors who will help you for as long as you are an undeclared major. Aside from that, there are three key activities, or rather as part of that, there are three key activities that we will assist you with. And the first of that is that we help you transition into college. The transition into college is not just a summer or a September activity. Adjusting to a whole new world, a whole new way of organizing your day. For some of you, it may be a much larger place if your graduating class just consisted of dozens or hundreds, new fields of study, And it's really exciting, but it takes sometimes some help navigating your way. And we consider that most fundamental in your first few months of being here, so that you know where to go and that you know what kinds of questions to ask. At the same time as we're helping you adjust to college and navigate your way, we're assisting you with course planning and registration. By the time you enter here, you will have gone through summer orientation and you've become familiar with certain ways of choosing classes and what the different categories of requirements mean. But once you're here and we have time to sit down with you one-on-one, we can assist you in understanding, okay, if I want to get from this point to that point, what classes, in what order, and for what purpose should I be taking? And it's very individualized. It's very tailored toward what your needs are. Coupled with that, we help you from day one with personalized assistance in finding a major of good fit. Now, I'm sitting next to a wonderful colleague here with whom we partner to help you find a major of good fit. There are some curricular considerations. You need to be studying what you love and what you're gifted in as well. But there's also a career piece, and so that's why Sally and her colleagues in the Career Development Center join us in academic advising and providing you that personalized assistance that she will speak to momentarily. But I wanted to say that on this point, you know, approximately a fifth or so of students choose to enter SUNY Plattsburgh undeclared. So a lot of students enter as undeclared. Added to that, there are many of your friends here who have a declared major, but they're just as undecided as you are, perhaps. They just are currently sitting in a major that they believe is a good fit. And what we do with those individuals and with you is never force before it's time your selection of a major, but rather to work with you and what your initial leanings are. This is from the first few months of you being here. Not selecting a major, but eliminating those majors that you would never consider, leaving us with a reduced set of majors that we help guide you toward, a little at a time, making sure that every course you take here either fulfills a requirement that all students have to take, or are a start on a major that interests you. That's some of what we do. And if you have any questions at any point during this presentation, please let me know.
Great, thank you. We do offer a variety of other offices on campus, too, to help support our students, the first being Career Development Center, which I'll, of course, let Sally speak on since she is the expert. But the Learning Center is what's pictured here in the picture. It offers free peer-to-peer tutoring in close to 200 different courses at SUNY Plattsburgh. So if you're a student who knows you're going to struggle with your required math gen ed, for example, you can go right in there and sign up for a tutor from day one and be tutored by a student who has excelled in that course, and that's a completely free service to you. Conversely, you know, if you are a student who excels in a certain subject every year, that's a great way to make a little bit of extra cash and to help another student who's struggling more in a course. Also, student support services is an additional resource on campus that helps students either with any kind of learning disability, physical disability, or their first-generation college students. You know, getting back to the Career Development Center, did you want to give a little rundown of what you all do to help our students here?
Sure. I want to tag on to what Dr. Burnett was starting to talk about with working with undeclared students. And I will speak for myself, but I think I also speak for my colleagues as well, that we really enjoy working with undeclared students. In a way, we feel that undeclared students are really making themselves open to exploring a whole variety of careers versus coming in thinking you don't have your major and then not thinking about it again until you're about ready to graduate 4 or 5 years later. So the hundreds or thousands of students I've worked with over the past couple of decades, I've really enjoyed because they really honestly are open to a variety of ideas, and we can help navigate toward that. So where the academic advising starts out with a process, it's really wonderful. We have a great collaboration. In fact, now we're located just down the hall from their office, and we have many resources that can help. So, including just sitting down and talking with a career counselor. In many cases, you may feel like you have no idea what to do, and because of a variety of resources and just experience that we have, we might be able to, again, get you closer to your goal. You might feel like you're all alone, but as Dr. Burnett said, you said a fifth of the students are undeclared. So what can we do? We can just talk through a variety of options, and in many cases, I really want to do this major, but I don't know what to do with it. So we have all sorts of books, websites, handouts, all sorts of things, what to do with a major in, and then fill in the blank. And you would be very surprised. Most students are shocked. I had no idea there were so many choices. For instance, I thought the only thing I could do with an English major is teach. Well, we could show you dozens and dozens of other alternatives in addition to teaching. So that really wakes people up and gives people options. The other thing is, we all know there's pressures from a variety of places, including your friends, your family, and other people who are saying, well, there's nothing you can do with that major. So not only will we reassure you that there are many things to do with all majors, we will give you some specific resources that will back that up. Not just referring you to a book, but I'll show you actual jobs. I'll show you thousands of jobs that are available right now. And when you have a chance, if you're interested, if you go to our website, the Plattsburgh website, just type in career in the search box and you'll come to our website. There's things like, it's called Employers by Major, and there's a list of actual employers organized by state that actually have hired people in a variety of majors. You can do that. We have this new resource called Candid Career, and that has over 5,000 little mini video clips. You can watch them on your smartphone of informational interviews, so talking to actual people in the field. And they'll say, how did they get started? What was their major? What kind of experience did they have? What would they recommend for you if you want to consider that occupation? And you might be surprised. Like if you want to be a lawyer, what major should you have? There's a whole variety of majors you could have in order to go through that. So there are a few majors that it does help to get started right away. I'll point out nursing is one of them. It's good if you are considering it at all to start out there. But most of the time you have some time to make some decisions and gather information. So in addition to Candid Career and BuzzFile on our website, it's referred to Employers by Major, you can meet with a career counselor, like I said, and we'll talk to you. And we'll talk to a variety of things. So we might refer you to an interest inventory or a personality test. Now, I know you may have already done these in high school. I did one in high school, and I thought it was ridiculous, the things that came up with. And there is no magic 8-ball. There's no magic test that will tell you what you should do. However, sometimes it can help you brainstorm. It can help you narrow things down. It might give you some general suggestions, or it might confirm something you were thinking of anyway. So those types can be helpful, but in many cases, if you did take one of those in the past, you probably didn't give a lot of feedback about it. You were probably just given a handout. But if you work with a career counselor, we can maybe interpret it in some ways that might not be obvious from just a printout or something you read online. So if we know some different things about you, your strengths and your interests, we might be able to point out some specific careers and then majors that would go along with it. And I want to mention that. So many people are focused on, which that's what we're talking about, is choosing a major. In many cases when I'm working with students, we talk about what would you like to do with a career, and then go backwards and figure out what would be the best major or majors that would complement that career. Because in many cases, there's certain fields that it's pretty obvious what your major should be, like nursing, accounting, et cetera. But most of the occupations that exist actually have numerous major possibilities. So even though that's true, the academic requirements and the types of courses are very different. So you might really excel and be interested in certain types of classes and not so much in others. So we would talk you through that process and hopefully, excuse me, suggest some possibilities And then again, along with your academic advisor, trying some things out, doing informational interviews, getting some part-time jobs or internships that can help confirm those interests, and the work we do along the way. So those are some specific things we do with undeclared students. Otherwise, in our office too, we help people with job search materials, writing resumes, learning how to write a cover letter, learning how to interview properly, learning how to go about utilizing social media for your job search, meeting employers, doing networking. So those are all resources that we have in our office, and I'm sure there's many things that would be helpful to you as an undeclared student.
Great, thank you so much. At this point, I'm going to talk a little bit about the different majors that we have offered here at SUNY Plattsburgh. I don't see any questions yet, so I wanted to remind you to use not the Q&A box, I'm sorry, but the chat box. We're not able to see the Q&A box. So I'm going to run through the majors. If anything sparks your interest, anything at all, definitely feel free to ask any of us. That's what we're here for. If there's no questions at the end, I have some of my own, which I know you'll be curious as to hearing the answers to. So we'll get started with that in just a bit. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, SUNY Plattsburgh has over 60 different majors. So what we do is break them into 3 different academic schools. We have the School of Arts and Sciences, School of Education, Health and Human Services, and the School of Business and Economics. Now, by far the largest here is our School of Arts and Sciences. So this is where pretty much all students, regardless of their major, will be taking some courses in, because a lot of the gen ed requirements here will be classes within these divisions. So some of our most popular programs in this would be, for example, biology. We have a brand new $37 million science complex on our facility. We have a number of different pre-health advisement tracks, for example, pre-med, pre-vet, pre-optometry. So biology remains consistently one of our top programs here. Communications and journalism is a huge and comprehensive program. So we actually have 5 different majors just within communications, and we have an additional 4 in journalism and public relations. We have great hands-on opportunities for our students in that program, which I'll mention a little bit later in this presentation, but lots of good stuff there. And Mariah is a communications major as well, so she'll be able to speak to that. Computer science and information technology is definitely a growing field. In fact, we just added a brand new computer security major here on campus, which is growing as well. Criminal justice remains consistently one of our top programs. With Plattsburgh's location only 20 minutes from Canada, there's lots of opportunity for internships with the Border Patrol. We have New York State Police, Plattsburgh City Police, lots of places to get hands-on experience within that field. SUNY Plattsburgh has one of the oldest earth and environmental science programs in the country. Again, Plattsburgh's location, we're right on Lake Champlain, right in the Adirondack Mountains. So we're sitting on kind of a hot spot for our earth and environmental science students to get just amazing hands-on experiences within that field here. And the last major I'm going to mention within this school is psychology. That's consistently one of our top programs as well. And kind of going off that trend of the hands-on learning experiences, there is a Center for Neurobehavioral Health here on campus, which includes things like a TBI, Traumatic Brain Injury Center. There's resources for families with Alzheimer's, autism. So it is run professionally by our professional staff, but our psychology students have this really unique experience to work alongside them at this center, which services our local community. The next school here at SUNY Plattsburgh is the School of Education, Health and Human Services. I mentioned we were founded as an education college back in 1889. So that continues on today with education being one of our most popular programs on campus. We have a number of different options. A lot of them are these combined bachelor's and master's degree options where you can actually receive a bachelor's and master's degree in 5 years without ever having to reapply, which saves a year of time and money, which makes it really marketable for students. Communication disorders and sciences allows students to enter fields in either speech pathology or audiology. Expeditionary studies is a really unique program to SUNY Plattsburgh where you can actually specialize in backcountry skiing, sea kayaking, or rock climbing. It'll train you to become maybe an outdoor guide, a professional ski patroller, that type of thing. Fitness and wellness leadership actually combines business and exercise science, so that's a pretty unique program as well. Human development and family relations prepares students to work in human service agencies. Nutrition and social work actually are very unique to have at an undergraduate level. We're one of the only SUNY colleges to offer either one of those at the undergrad level, so if you were thinking about either one of those, it makes SUNY Plattsburgh marketable. Nursing is by far our most competitive major, so if you were thinking remotely anything nursing, number one, apply as soon as possible, and number two, apply directly to nursing. So this would be the only program I would say don't come in as undeclared because it's nearly impossible to transfer into once you are a student here. If you're thinking nursing at all, it's much easier to come in as nursing, try it out, see if you like it, and if you don't, then you can easily transfer out. Our next school here is the School of Business and Economics. We have 11 distinct majors within the School of Business and Economics. They are not concentrations, they are their own individual majors. It is relatively easy to double or even triple major within this school because much of the coursework is going to be the same for the first 2 years here. One thing I like to point out about SBE is that stamp of approval kind of that you see next to the School of Business and Economics. It's AACSB accredited, the Association to Advance Collegiate Schools of Business. We're one of only about 650 schools in the entire world to have this accreditation. So not only does it draw students domestically, but certainly internationally as well. SUNY Plattsburgh has a very high percentage of international students, and in fact, 75% of those students are actually enrolled in our School of Business and Economics. So I think it's pretty cool that you can be sitting in such a diverse classroom, which really mirrors, our global world today. So, like I said, there are 11 majors in this school. You'll see some pretty traditional majors like what you'd expect from a business school, for example, accounting, marketing, management. There are some unique ones in SUNY Plattsburgh as well, for example, entrepreneurship, how to start your own business. It's pretty unique to have that at an undergraduate level. Global supply chain management is the study of how to get products and goods shipped from point A to point B faster and cheaper than anybody else. With Plattsburgh being located right on this 87 corridor, direct from New York City to Montreal, only about 20 minutes from Canada, we're at a really great location for those students to get hands-on learning experiences there. Hotel, restaurant, and tourism management is a pretty interesting major as well. So we actually have a 5-star restaurant right here on campus called Samuel B's, when our HRTLs and students will actually complete over 500 hours of work at that restaurant prior to graduating Plattsburgh. The next thing I wanted to touch on is featured facilities, so different places that we have along campus to help you get those hands-on learning experiences within your field without even having to leave campus. So I mentioned the $37 million science building. That's the building pictured on the top left corner of your screen there. So that houses really just state-of-the-art, brand new equipment. Biology, chemistry, physics, environmental science students, they all utilize that brand new facility there. We are known as the museum without walls, so if you were to come up for a tour, you would see so much artwork absolutely everywhere, and the majority of that artwork actually comes from our own art students, so it gives them a great place to showcase their work. If you were interested in communications or journalism, PSTV, Plattsburgh State Television, is a great resource. So that's that photo on the bottom right corner there. We have 2 news anchor rooms. We have brand new editing suite, audio, radio equipment. Everything has been completely redone, and it's all state-of-the-art and brand new. And students can get involved with PSTV their first year at Plattsburgh, which is really nice. If you're interested in journalism, we have an award-winning Cardinal Points student-run newspaper, as well as All Points North, which is an online magazine, so lots of chances to get real writing experience without even having to leave Plattsburgh. If you're interested in nursing, we have a nursing skills lab that's actually set up pretty similar to a hospital, where we have kind of dummy people that will actually give birth, go into cardiac arrest. So it gives you this opportunity to work hands-on right at Plattsburgh without having to leave, although the hospital is actually right across the street, so when it comes time for clinical rotations and things like that, it's very easy to get to. The photo on the top right is our brand new $12 million business building. It also houses computer science, information technology, and that new computer security program that I mentioned as well. So although these hands-on learning experiences you're going to get them no matter if you have an internship or not. We strongly encourage you to have an internship. So while you're on campus, you can develop your skills a little bit, test them out, use our facilities, but we definitely encourage you to go out and do an internship at least as well. So when I was a student here, I actually did 3 internships, and it's not uncommon for students to do more than 1 internship. They're the best way to really hone your skills, find out where you want to work, what you're most interested in, what kind of setting you like to work in. So we really encourage you to take advantage of all of the partnerships we have with different places within Plattsburgh, regionally, even internationally. So here on the screen you'll see a list. This certainly is not an exhaustive list, but it's just to give you an example of some places that you could work. For example, if you're interested in communications, we have relationships with ABC, CBS, and NBC. If you're interested in hotel, restaurant, tourism management, you could intern at the Walt Disney Company. If you're interested in environmental science, we have the Adirondack Park Agency right here and the Minor Institute. If you are interested in teaching, you'll of course need to complete your student teaching. With business, we have great relationships with both IBM and KPMG. If you're interested in criminal justice, I mentioned the Border Patrol and New York State Police. And then that Expeditionary Studies program, we actually have a partnership with Treasure Island Outdoor Education Center in Hong Kong. And the list goes on and on and on. I just thought that it would be good for you to see some real places where you could potentially intern at. So that is actually my last slide. I'm going to go back to the student panel portion. We can invite our student Mariah here if you all did not have any questions for Dr. Burnett or Sally. Maybe before we switch over, though, I'll just ask the 2 of you if you could give these students any advice. So these are students who are undeclared and a little bit undecided about which major they would like to pursue. What would you recommend for them? Advice.
Counsel. I'll say just one thing now, but then I'm sure while Ms. Urban is speaking, I'll think of something else. You've been through X number of years of school already, and I bet you know what kinds of subject matter feels better to you than others. And I'm talking broadly, like you enjoy reading and writing far more than you enjoy doing things with formulas and chemical equations. And so when you're applying, when you're thinking about different majors, don't be afraid to take something like English writing as an example and pursue it. You can come in undeclared. Of course you can come in undeclared. But don't be afraid to begin in whatever one of your leanings is. Because what we find in advising is oftentimes what a student's leaning is in the beginning, something that they've known for years that is just natural to them. Some people naturally acquire foreign languages so easily. I don't. But when it comes to statistics, mathematical things, I thrive in that. So it's important to acknowledge what your gifts and leanings already are and either begin to move in that direction or to speak with academic advising or the Career Center about those natural tendencies and leanings. So that's one piece of advice that came to me because Ms. Urban mentioned earlier that some students get pressure from families. I see it every day. Pressure from families, pressure from, you look at your news feed, and there'll be some article about liberal arts majors not getting jobs, or accounting majors, or wind turbine energy. Those are the fields you need to enter. You might not be invested in wind turbine energy. You might not want to be the next accountant in your family. And so it's really important to go ahead and acknowledge what feels right to you in terms of an area of study.
The other thing I would say along with that is some people describe having a passion for a certain occupation, for a certain career. I've always known I wanted to be a teacher. I've always known I want to be a nurse. And you might not feel like, well, I have a lot of interest, I have a lot of classes I like, but I don't know if I feel passionate about it. And we've spent a lot of time talking about that in our field recently, that not everybody has a passion. You might just really enjoy something. You might like helping people. You might find it interesting. But you don't have to call it a passion necessarily. The other thing, I came up with a phrase that I call, don't worry about, I'm sort of interested in this, but I can't imagine doing it for the rest of my life. So I call that the rest of your life syndrome. Very few of us, and things are changing so much faster than it was for our parents and our grandparents. You probably won't be working in the same career your entire life. So you can't predict, I don't know if I'll still like doing that when I'm 30 or 40 or 50. So you can't do too much prediction. So if there's something, as Dr. Burnett was saying, you are leaning toward, you already have an interest in, that might very well be a good major for you. And I assure you, again, we can tell you the resources and career options with any of those majors. And I will put a plug in for the liberal arts. And it depends on your personality, too. Some people would prefer a major where you know the kind of jobs you're going to be. If I'm a nursing major, I'm going to be a nurse. And that might give you a certain level of comfort, and that's where you're going to be, that's what you would prefer. There's other people, like I would like to just have the sky's the limit option available to me. So you have to know where your comfort level is, but there's a lot of studies have shown that long-term, and you might not be thinking that way, but long-term, a lot of liberal arts majors, which we mean English and history and things that might not be as automatic, what you're going to be doing with them afterwards, you are able to switch gears more easily between careers, and most of us will be switching careers numerous times in our life. So there are many good pathways, and I encourage you to explore that. But don't feel like you have to have it all figured out right away. Don't feel like, I have to be so passionate about it before I choose something. Because a lot of times when I do talk to students, they really do know what they want, but somebody just has to give them permission to go ahead. Yes, there are jobs in that. Yes, you can do it. And so I'm going to tell you before you even get to campus that your first instinct might be the best one, and we can back up that knowledge and give you some options with that.
All right, so we actually got a question here
great.
from Liza. First of all, she'd like to say thank you because it's very helpful. Thank you, Liza. Anyways, I'm a junior. She's a transfer. Is it too late to start changing majors? I'm a psychology major. However, I'm finding that I might want to pursue something else unknown.
I'll address that. There are many options. In many cases, you might want to stay with psychology, so I'd like to talk to you more about why is psychology not working. However, sometimes just having a bachelor's degree will open up so many doors for you. So in some cases, yes, you might be able to still switch gears. It might take at least a year longer. It depends on what major it is. Some majors have more credits than others. However, in some cases, once you have that bachelor's degree, there's a whole variety of other, some fields encourage you to eventually have a master's degree. So instead of getting a second whole major and working on a whole other baccalaureate track, who knows, in 1 year or 2 years, you could get a master's degree and be prepared for that same career you were thinking of. So it depends, and I'm not saying by far everybody should go to graduate school right away. So it depends on the situation. So some majors, it would be hard to transfer in as a junior and finish in 2 years. In other fields, it might be possible. So it depends on how much longer you want to spend here.
And I'll take it from the curriculum angle,
right?
More of some matters of practicality. Mm-hmm. So Liza, I don't know, first of all, we'd love to meet you if you plan on coming to an open house with us, if you haven't already. We'd love to sit with you and have a face-to-face conversation. But that said, a lot depends on the size of your potential new major. Mm-hmm. I agree with everything Sally said, so there's not a comma but here. It's all in how close does your new major resemble psychology, and secondly, are there a sequence of courses that you must take that can be completed in 2 years? I'll give you an example. Some majors are smaller in size, not importance or rigor, but in number of credits, and that if you just have the 101 class the introduction to that field of study, introduction to sociology, introduction to gender and women's studies, introduction to philosophy. That is like a key that unlocks the door to most other upper-level courses, 300, 400-level courses, and you can take many of them in the same semester. Other majors, even though they might be smaller in size, computer science, information technology, another one would be criminal justice, mathematics. You can't take calculus 1, 2, 3, and 4 all in the same semester, so it's got to be sequential. So what we would want to do is map out with you what is this possible new major, and can it be completed in your junior and senior year, unless, of course, as Sally mentioned, you would like to extend your stay. And, of course, with all of that, we would discuss with you, because if I must be truthful, sometimes financial aid and your family situation will play a role in making a decision about whether you would change to another big major like accounting that would take almost 4 years on top of what you've done. So there's a lot of considerations that we could speak with you about. But it's as a general rule, it's not too late.
And we actually got one other question in here from Scott. So he said, when deciding a major, is it better to choose a major in which you excel at or a major in which you find interesting but don't do as well in?
That is a good question, and hopefully it's a balance of things that you do find interesting and do excel at. But if you get straight A's in something you hate, and then you don't want to pursue a career in it, then maybe that's not the best path, because you're going to find you're probably not going to be real happy in your coursework. On the other hand, there are certain careers and graduate schools that really insist on a really high GPA. So you could love your courses, but if you are barely passing, first of all, you might not be able to stay in school, but second of all, you might not be able to advance or to get a job to pursue that. So it really is a balance between something you like and something you're good at, but it doesn't have to be all or nothing. I mean, you might be sort of interested and sort of good, but hopefully it's a balance of both. But do you have another thought on that?
No, my thought is very similar, and I can say it is rare. It's rare to find a situation where a student gets very high grades and doesn't like it.
Right.
And or you don't find as much that either or. Now, you might have had that experience, which led to your question, but my question builds on Sally's appreciation for what's next.
Mm-hmm.
If you want graduate school, and you know you want graduate school takes seriously GPA. It's one way, like it or not, or valid or not, of screening applicants in some way, as well as oftentimes GRE scores and things like that. But so that's a consideration. But go ahead.
No, I would also say that, on the other hand, there are some occupations that maybe don't take as much into account GPA. They might not care as much. And I will say two things. One, the coursework that you're studying isn't, just because you like the coursework or not, doesn't mean you won't necessarily like a career in that same field. You know, coursework is different. Some people are more hands-on learnings, and we talked a lot about internships. We're really developing more all the time. So let's say you really are interested in the subjects. You're not doing as well academically, but you accent that by having some really great internships along with that. Now, of course, there are some GPA requirements for some internships too, but you back that up with getting some real good experience. So you get, you know, decent grades but not great, but you have some great experiences. That will still make you very marketable. And you might have, you know, I would think you'd have a great college experience that way too.
The other part of my answer is, again, it's how it feels. If you don't have to have that certain GPA requirement for the next step, I would ask you to ask yourself, or anybody watching and listening, when I'm in this experience, grades aside, how do I feel in that experience? Am I developing in some way, developing my brain, my thoughts, my questions about the world? Am I developing my writing? Am I being challenged? Am I thriving in this? I really like this. I'm not going to get an A. I don't feel like I'm going to get an A. But am I thriving, and is it contributing to who I am? And if you can answer the question yes, then that's a field for you. If you feel that the change you want to make, the contribution to the world or society or yourself, if you can do it and you feel better, you feel more you, and it's part of your identity, then that's where you should be.
Great. Well, thank you both for being here. I want to have time for our student in case you guys have any questions for the student. So thank you both so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah. You're welcome. All right, so now Mariah is going to join us. So she was a student who came in as undeclared but has since declared a major. So if you guys can think of any questions at all for her from a student perspective, now would be some time to ask them. Hello, Mariah.
Hey guys, I'm Mariah.
All right, this is the screen here.
Okay, it's very strange.
Okay, so if you wouldn't mind starting by maybe introducing yourself.
Okay.
Say what year in school you are, your hometown.
Okay.
We'll start with that.
All right, I'm Mariah Singleton, and I'm a junior, and I'm from Saratoga, Galway, New York, but you guys aren't going to know where that is, so I'm from Saratoga. I study broadcast journalism and TV video production, but I'm switching my major right now to digital media production in Spanish. So right now I'm minoring in Spanish.
So you actually came in as undeclared, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us about that experience. So you applied as undeclared and you were accepted as undeclared. How did you work with academic advising and your advisor here to help declare the major that you did?
Okay. So when I got here, I had no idea in the whole world what I wanted to do. And you're just given an advisor when you come in. They just give you someone. And I think Dr. Burnett or Elizabeth is usually one of the advisors. But I had an advisor in the student support services. And she was kind of almost like a counselor also, and she really we talked through all the classes I could take, and we ended up putting me in all these random kind of try it out classes. You know, like I took a music class, I took an art class, I took history, just a bunch of random classes like biology. I didn't really care for science, but it was a really cool class just to see what I might potentially be interested in. And then finally towards the end of my freshman year, I told her I wanted to study abroad, and that led to her saying, okay, well, you should pick something to focus on while you're there. So I wanted to go somewhere where you spoke Spanish, and I wanted to learn Spanish, so I ended up doing something with that. And then I ended up taking a couple communications classes, and that's how I kind of ended up in the digital video production major. So it's really it was a matter of just taking classes and seeing what I wanted to do right in that immediate time period, the end of my freshman year into my sophomore year, it was what I wanted to do then. That's kind of what made me decide.
So tell us about your study abroad experience.
Okay, studying abroad. It was very challenging to go. I went to Costa Rica and then Spain, but I started in Costa Rica, and I had really never spoken Spanish before besides high school classes, which are helpful with the basics, but when you're actually speaking it, it's really different. But I had known I always wanted to do that, and I finally saw my advisor, and so I took a Spanish class, and that was when I declared the minor. And then I went there, I took a bunch of classes in Spanish and communications, so it really just worked out perfectly. They just happened to have a communications program, and I don't know, it just worked out really, really well.
So then you ended up declaring broadcast journalism, but now you're switching to digital media production. So tell us about that transition.
Okay, so I actually started first with broadcast journalism and then video production after I took a production class, which was my second communications class, which was really, really awesome. But then I decided those are two very specific things, and I know it would be very broad one day when I want to get a job, but they're very specific. So broadcast journalism, I would be an anchor or something like that. In video production, I would be making the videos. But I wanted to do something very general with communication. So I want to do digital media production because it's graphic design, it's video production, there's still journalism involved. There's a little bit of everything, which is what I wanted. So that process, it's not hard at all to switch your major. Pretty much, and it's definitely not hard for me because in communications, you take so many general classes at first that cover all the majors. So I have half the courses already done, and I'm a junior. I'm in my first semester of junior year, and I have half my courses done for that major, and my gen is already done. So it's super easy to switch into it.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to point out, too, is how common it is. So first of all, undeclared is our most popular major coming in. So about 30% of students coming in are undeclared. So don't feel alone, number one, if you're coming in as undeclared. Number two, even if students come in as a certain major, so many of them will actually switch majors once they kind of refine what it is exactly they want to do, like Mariah.
Yeah.
It's so common. So just keep an open mind and be flexible into switching, depending on which major you're coming from and which major you're transferring into and how far along you are. It might be more difficult than others, but for the most part, it's not a difficult process. So something I wanted to ask you, a lot of students ask about internship opportunities or hands-on learning experiences. So I know you're just a junior, so you probably haven't done an internship yet, but maybe any experience with PSTV or any of the facilities on campus.
Yeah, actually, there's so much hands-on experience at Plattsburgh, which I didn't know about coming into it. It's just been like such a bonus, like such a surprise. With PSTV, I did it last year, so my first semester, sophomore year, I was a talent on the show, which anyone can do if you're a freshman your first semester and you want to be on a talk show or be a news anchor, just to try it out, which I think everyone, like, anyone can try it. I think a lot of people should. It's really good practice for public speaking also. But, so I did that, which kind of really opened my eyes to, like, all the opportunities there are in communications. And then for internships, I'm actually doing two right now, but one of them is not communications related. It's just something I really wanted to do. I'm a Peace Corps ambassador, so I go to like college fairs and stuff, and I like advocate for them and try to get students to sign up. But then I do an internship at the Strand Center for the Arts, which is an art center we have in Plattsburgh, and I'm doing their newsletter and research and development for them to get more people to come, to see who would come, just all sorts of different like communication things that they could have me do. Just to learn like what the business is, and that's just a local business in Plattsburgh. It's a really cool experience.
It's cool. Tell us about any like clubs and organizations and stuff you're involved in too.
Okay. We have a million clubs here. Let's see. I'm doing NBS, which is the National Broadcast Society, which is it's a club for anybody but communication students primarily, and it's across the U.S., and you pay $25, you become a member, and then they do a trip, and you go on a communications trip. Last year they went to LA, to Hollywood, and they got to tour, I think it was not NBC Studios, one of the big news studios, and they get to do all these things, and I don't know, it's so hands-on of a club, and you go on these huge trips. I'm in a volunteer, well, I'm not in it anymore, but I was in a volunteering club last year. They just have community service events like on the weekends. There's PSTV, which is a really, really, really cool club to be a part of. Let's see what else. I know there's other ones. There's so much.
Yeah, there's so much. That's okay. Tell us about your favorite class so far. What sticks out in your mind?
Okay. I know, I keep talking about communications, but it's just like, it's what I do. My favorite class so far was my first production class. It was video production, and we had 4 huge projects the whole semester, and we did it like we were working in like a real TV production studio, and our teacher was really harsh, but it was constructive harsh. Like, you had to have your videos down to a certain time, like you had to use the gear properly, et cetera, all these things, because it was teaching you how to really work in the field. And that was only the intro class. Well, it was a 200-level intro class. But we had 4 big projects, and they were all very, very specific. And you could go and use the cameras. We just updated the whole communications department, and we have brand new state-of-the-art cameras. And you can go and use those whenever you want. And you worked with all these people you didn't know, and it's very group-oriented, my major is. And I don't know, it was just a really, really good class.
Cool.
Yeah.
So another question we always get is about class sizes. So in your experience, how big have the classes been, and do you feel like, you know, you've gotten to know your professors?
Okay. So the biggest class I've ever taken was a 60-student lecture, which is not big at all. And the teacher still knew all of our names and interacted with us on a daily basis. And that was a psychology class. I also took a really big biology class, but the psychology was the biggest one. And it was only because it was an intro class and freshmen need a psychology or sociology class, I think it is. And so that was the biggest one, but I mean, the teacher still got to know us. He had great office hours. All the teachers always have great office hours. A lot of the intro classes are really, not really big, and not a lot of them, but some of them are because they're gen eds and a lot of people need to take them, but the further you get into your major, the smaller the classes get. And in my major, the classes are always less than 20 people. It's always smaller than that, and you always get to know the teacher. And the teacher wants to get to know you, because if you aren't doing well, they want to help you, and they always do help you. I've never had a problem with it.
So we have time for one last thing. If you were to give them any advice, so they're a little unsure, undecided of what, you know, they want to major in and what they want to do, what advice would you give them moving forward to choose a path?
My advice would be to, this is cliche, and I'm going to say it anyway, follow your heart. It really do, like, what you love. Some people don't want to be fine arts majors because they think it's not lucrative enough, I guess, but if that's what you love, I think you should try it, and I think you should try to find a way to make that work. Maybe, like, get another degree with it at the same time, but, like, do what you love. People will tell me sometimes, they're like, why are you doing video production? Like, you're going to work in TV, like, TV's dying. That's what I love to do, and I'm going to find a way to make it work. Even if I'm not doing TV, I might go do something else with production, you know? Find a way to make what you love work.
Great advice.
Thank you.
All right, the last panel I wanted to get to here is our visit panel. So if anything that we said today sounded interesting and you felt like you wanted to come and check out more for yourself, the best way to do that is our upcoming open houses. We have one Saturday, October 29th, and another one on November 12th. So that's when all the offices on campus will be around, like the Career Development Center, the Academic Advising Center, so you can actually sit down with them face-to-face and get any questions answered. You can check out all of our facilities and go on campus tours. Lots of good stuff going on those days. So if you were interested, I would definitely encourage you to visit on one of those days and check it out and see if it's a good fit for you. So that's actually all we have for you for tonight. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. You'll actually be emailed a link of the video most likely tomorrow. So I hope you had a good night. Bye.
Bye.